All right, I got this bad boy going. Now, if you guys can tell by the title of the video, we're going to be talking about this old bad boy right here. And let's be real, that sucker, that PlayStation 2 defined us when we were younger. That system right there defined us, like defined who we were and we became as gamers. Yeah, you can say that we all started with Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, N64, the early 90s to mid to beginning 2000s. But you cannot deny that PlayStation 2, between that and the Xbox, had the most memorable life cycle and one of the longest generations before it finally hit the dust. So, as you can see behind me, let me just turn this a little bit. As you can see behind me, I still have my games. Plus, new ones that I'm always picking up that I never played, and some that I just want to go back down memory lane. So, let me just move my headset out the way. Some in, cases that aren't the original, blank cases. This one's got, different, what's it called inside. I got the games packaged like this because I couldn't find them in their original casings. But I have some of the games that defined the PS2 generation and some that were just memorable to us. That they may not have got the mainstream and that are very niche and that are very meticulous. But what I want to say is you're gonna be like, John, you're about to notice something. I have a lot of movie license games as well. And you're probably going to say, why? Look, before you fucking pitchfork me to death. PS2, you cannot deny, movie license games on PS2 weren't bad. Okay? It was when they started to get into the 360 and the PS3 generation that the same formula just didn't work over and over. We had a few exceptions like X-Men Origins Wolverine and a couple of others. But movie license games were not terrible like people made them to be. Some of the games that we remembered as kids are movie licensed. Let me pull one out. I'm gonna pull out a couple for you. Let's actually start out with, it's in my fucking hand, and I'll pull out the other one right here since it may as well just go hand in hand with each other. These are for now my only two Terminator games that I've picked up on PS2: Dawn of Fate and T3: The Redemption. Now, this is what you consider a true prequel to the first Terminator film, besides Terminator Resistance. But what a lot of people don't know or are not used to, this is a Resident Evil style game. And what do I mean by that? This is a Terminator game with tank controls. Kind of. You can move fast. It's an action-paced game. The tank controls are very fast and fluent. It's like, take the Resident Evil 1 remaster, when they remastered the remake of the first one from the GameCube. Think of it like that, where you can use the alternative controls to move a lot swifter and quicker. But the vibe of the Terminator remained strong. And just look at that. Like, the first time I saw this, I was just getting into Terminator. The first Terminator film I saw was T2. I happened to see it on TV. And then I got this. Do you know this game rocked my fucking marbles? Yes, this game rocked my fucking marbles because it is not as easy as you might think. You might think Terminator games have a reputation for being very fucking hard for no reason. I never played the only older Terminator games that I've ever played. I actually played none of the Super Nintendo games and the regular Nintendo. I've only played the Game Boy Color game, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. That's all I played. Then I went straight into playing these, and these games, I heard the reputation of the Terminator games were hard. I went into them thinking that, okay, I can deal with it. I can handle it. Bullshit. I got my ass rocked. And that tradition followed into fucking Terminator 3: The Redemption. Now, you're probably wondering, well, John, isn't there another Terminator game? Yes, there's a game, Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, which is a first-person shooter. I got this one instead. And Redemption is very fitting because it is a third-person shooter vehicular combat game. And you're probably wondering, how in the fuck does that work? You play as the Terminator in this one. You play as the T-850. Or I think it's the T-850 or it's the T-888. It's one of the two that you play as in that game. And it's a prequel. It's a prequel and not a sequel, but it goes through the events of Terminator 3 with the future, with sequences that take place in the future. And the future missions, I don't know what's harder, the past missions or the fucking future missions. Because this game should have just been a mix. It's predominantly vehicular combat. It's 80% vehicular combat. Because at some point, I'm going to review each of these games. I'm starting slowly. You know, we got Hayward and Kane. I finally got Area 51 out to review. But this game right here, when you master it, though, you feel good. You feel good about destroying fucking Terminators. Why? Because one thing, the counter button. And you're probably wondering, well, what's the counter button? I believe it's triangle or circle. That if you're driving a vehicle in the future and a fucking another Terminator jumps on, just brah, 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 brah. Or when you're in the moments, because you only get to be on foot fighting Terminators like an actual Terminator for like 10 minutes at a time in each level. Most of the level is 90% vehicular, and the beginning 10% is you're on foot doing combat. Which you could have just made the whole game like that with certain sections of vehicular. But I mean, what can you do, right? They're still, in a way, they are classics because they retain Terminator's iconic vibe, sound, music, and own original type of content, which is what made the Terminator games unique. They held their own original content. And why the fuck is my light flashing like that? I'm about to say, why is my lamp flashing like it's having a fucking possession fest? Let's see. What's my other movie time? Fucking lamp. My other movie tie-in games. I have... we'll go with this one. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Legend of Jack Sparrow. This was the first Pirates of the Caribbean game I ever played. My personal favorite is At World's End, because At World's End is a far better Pirates of the Caribbean game, especially in terms of how it's designed. But this one is a fun co-op game that basically takes you through an alternate version of the Curse of the Black Pearl. It follows the Curse of the Black Pearl, but it follows all these bullshit adventures that Jack went on. And you know the adventures are BS because how was Will there during those times? Because you can co-op the game with a friend. And it makes it a lot better. You know, the voice actors, Johnny Depp does the voice. I believe Orlando Bloom did the voice in the game, or whoever they did a good job portraying him. And the cover didn't need to be fancy. And out of all people that published it, Bethesda. That's a shock, right? All they did was took the front cover to the first movie and just changed it to The Legend of Jack Sparrow. And it's fitting because you go through a lot of unique environments. A lot of people say, oh, this is a buggy mess. I've played this numerous times, solo and with a friend. It's not buggy at all. It's just an old game. You know, old games have their quips and quirks. The game is not unplayable. The game's not broken. It could be tough. There's numerous fucking game difficulty spikes that just come out of nowhere. But that's the trope you have to deal with old games. You know, going around, you level up, you do things very pirate-like. You know, gold. The gold you get in the game applies to leveling up. That's your currency to level up. You get different weapons as the game goes on. It's a very straightforward, level by level, you know, adventure game. And this is why I think it's so remembered, because it does feel like an official Pirates of the Caribbean game. You know, certain movie license games weren't all that great, that's to be sure, but Pirates of the Caribbean certainly was one of the ones that was good, and it's remembered for a reason. Now, let me pull out, where are they at? Okay, so my movie license games go all the way from this way, that way. Let me pull out, where are they at? All right. I don't have the first one because the first one is a PS1 game, so I only have 2 and 3, which is based on the second movie and the third movie. The Mummy Returns and The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So, let me just start off by saying I'm a masochist because I love the franchise. These games are not that great. They're not. But I'm a fan of The Mummy. So I put myself through it. But there is stuff that is unique about them that kind of makes you want to push through them. Because if the one thing that these movie games, they do, these movie licensed games always held the spirit of the movie and what you enjoyed about the movie, like the music, the scenario, the scenes, they do try to bring those to life. Let me start off with at least this one. The Mummy Returns. This is not the first version that I've played, actually. I played the PS2 version a little later in life, when I was close to like 13 years old, because this game came out in, I believe, 2001. I played the Game Boy Color one, and I used to sit waiting for the bus, and I used to beat the Game Boy Color game of The Mummy Returns every morning before the school bus even arrived. I would beat that bitch within an hour because it wasn't that difficult. Then I played this one, assuming, okay, I'm going to get a better version. And only very slightly do I got a better version. What is unique about it, though, is it has two separate campaigns. You play as Rick O'Connell. You follow if you play, Rick O'Connell, Brendan Fraser's character, you go through the events of the regular movie. You go through the events of The Mummy Returns as it was in the film. But you can also play as Imhotep. And it's an alternate scenario. You go through the same events of The Mummy Returns, but in a different viewpoint from his perspective. But you can actually succeed in defeating the Scorpion King with him. See, you have to beat both campaigns to get both endings. Rick's ending, he defeats the Scorpion King. It ends the same way as the film did. You play as Imhotep, you get to see what happened if he took control of the army of Anubis. He basically takes over the world and becomes what is known as a neo-pharaoh, ruler of the entire world. And I remember that line because that's vividly a line. They did try in certain sections, though, with this game. They did try to make unique because both characters, though control-wise they're very similar, they do have different play styles, and very slightly. Imhotep, you're going to be using a lot of physical attacks with your hands, swords, and you're going to be using a lot of magic. But the caveat with the magic is it drains your life. But the cool thing about playing as Imhotep, you can do what he did in the film, and you suck the souls out of your opponent, not only rejuvenating your health, because your health, which I understand, it's an in-lore reason why if he uses his magic in the game, it drains his life force, because if you didn't have a caveat of Imhotep being able to lose any life, or if you had an infinite stamina pool, you could just blow through his campaign, because all of Imhotep's magic is broken. That's not what I'm fucking say. His magic is fucking broken. Okay, broken in not in the bad way. Broken as his magic is too fucking powerful. So you kind of get an idea of what it's like to be Imhotep. And that's the one unique thing of playing this game. You get an alternate perspective of the film. You get the original perspective and the alternate perspective. I can tell you the voice acting is god-awful. But it's got that god-awful charm that you laugh at and you enjoy. That's the shit. That's the thing about it. And let me see. The Scorpion King is hard for no fucking reason. It took me so long before I could beat his ass. I think one time, I did beat it fairly 2 times in life, and then I beat it the first time with a Game Shark because I was just tired of dying. So I put infinite health and infinite ammo and magic. Said, fuck it, I'm going to kill his ass right there, because Imhotep in the game has a fucking ability called the Curse of Death. And even to the boss, you do the Curse of Death, it's a fucking rap. So, motherfucker's too damn strong. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like this film. There's fans of it. Like, the fandom is divided on this film. In a lot of ways, it did something new. It wanted to get out of Egypt. Because how the fuck could you bring Imhotep back to life even in the film? He went straight to hell, the Egyptian underworld. There's no way coming out of that. The Mummy, the Tomb, and the Dragon Emperor plays better than this. But that's not saying much. This one plays like a traditional third-person action game. But the problem you will have with it is you can't control the camera. You cannot control the camera. You have to deal with a slightly fixed perspective. Only in certain sections could you move the camera, but that's to help you move. The gunplay is easy. The gunplay feels like an original... Like, when you use guns in this game, it feels like a twin-stick shooter when you're using guns. But when you're doing combat, you're pressing regular buttons to do combat. So you switch between hand combat. You play as Rick and his son in this one, because he's old enough to be played as. and you go through it's the singular campaign. There's no alternate campaign. You go through this one, through the events of the films, and you go through all the stuff that was never. The good thing about these games, at least like this, you play through the original versions of the films, like stuff that gets taken out of the movie. You play it in game, if that makes any sense. Like you play all the missing bits that you never saw, and it's almost worth it for that. And then you unlock cheat codes in the game, which is at least makes it worth going back and just blowing through everything. But in certain spots, it is fucking hard. And I think that's another trope that these games have with the Terminator games. The bosses in the games are just ungodly hard for no reason. I'm still trying to go through this game right now, but the one thing this game does have is at least the actors from the film did do their voices, which is cool. That at least makes it at least worth going through, because you get a sense of it feels authentic hearing it. You don't. It's not like The Mummy Returns. I'll tell you that. So let us get to. I think I'll save the superhero movie license games. Let me just go through the singular ones, because I have one particular series I want to talk about, which is the god of movie games. Great morning for death, Chris. Indeed, I feel like it. Let's talk about the one game that there is no man or gamer that could defeat me in this game. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is the original version of the movie. The original version of the movie, before, the cuts were made in the film to make it shorter, this is the original script of Revenge of the Sith in video game format. And as you can see, it does one thing that in no other game lets you do. Anakin Skywalker could do Force Lightning in this game. That is worth it alone, especially when you do the Jedi Temple mission, where you fucking slaughter everybody. But what makes this game so unique is it has a couple different modes. It has the campaign with 2 endings. Obi-Wan wins, it creates the original film, the original series goes on, and an ending where Anakin wins, kills Obi-Wan and Palpatine, and rules the Empire on his own. Each level is so detailed and based around the films. It sounds authentic. The music is always there. The music for Star Wars games always sound great. They're always epic. They get you right in the mood. The only thing I don't like is that the campaign is not 2-player. Yeah, of course, Chris, you're not going to be able to slaughter younglings in the fucking game, but you at least slaughter teenagers, which is close enough. But the duel mode, the versus mode. Now, there is a co-op mode. It's these bonus missions where you play as different characters and you just go through level of levels. You don't really go through full levels like this. You go through little chunks of levels. But the versus mode is what makes this game memorable. And I know a lot of people remember Star Wars, like the shitty Star Wars game called Masters of Terras Kasai would try to be a solo fighting game. If they were just to take the mechanics from this game, take the fighting mechanic, the duel mode in this, and make it a full game and just make it better and add more characters, you have the template right here to do it. I used to sit hours with friends. Hell, on certain days, like where you would have free period or free days at school where it was close to summertime, teachers just allowed the students to, you just relax in class, you spoke, hung out with everybody before summer started. I would bring the PS2 to my class and whoop everybody's ass in this game. Okay? And you probably wonder, of course, I'm using Anakin Skywalker. I'm going to rip you a new asshole before this is over. Before the fight is over, you will be ripped new assholes, and you'll probably regret the day playing me in this fucking game. Hell, my nieces and nephews are trying to learn this game. They're trying to stop me, and they cannot do it. And I've gone years without practice, but yet I can still do everything as if it was day one. Now, I don't know how many of you enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the interpretation of this movie, of this character, and the game. If that's one thing I could say about this game that I got in my hand right here, it's called surprising. And a lot of people do like it because it introduces a lot of video game mechanics that we don't see anymore. And it actually feels authentic. This is going to be a mouthful. Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. And you're probably wondering, wait, what? Now look, you can say what you will about the Peter Jackson King Kong film. but it really was expansive, and it really is. A lot of people say yes, it's a worthy remake of the original Kong, and it really is. They tried hard with that movie. They put their all into it. The game, however, you play as the human characters, and you play as Kong in certain sections. This game is a surprise because one thing it has is the suspension, not the suspension of disbelief, because when you go into a movie game or watching this kind of movie, you have to go in with a suspension of disbelief. The suspense in this game of knowing that anything could kill you is fascinating. I think I played the Kong game. I remember being lost at what the fuck do I do? That's the thing. This game is almost like no matter what difficulty you on, there's no heads-up display. There's none of the traditional gaming mechanics. You literally have to find out how much ammo you have by pressing a button and listen to the character dialogue where he says, I got 4 magazines on backup for the shotgun, like for the Tommy. Or he'll say, I got 20 shells on backup for the shotgun. And you have to make every shot count. And then you could pick up spears. You could pick up the native weapons. You fight Peter Jackson's King Kong. It is a great film. I mean, and even over time, it's become appreciated. At first, it was divisive. But over time, it was it was interesting, and it was a good film. I liked it from the jump. So you play as the character of Jack Driscoll, the guy Adrian Brody plays in the film, the one that went to go rescue Anne from Kong or try to go find her. Then in the other sections, you play as Kong, which his sections are you just basically beating up the other dinosaurs, the other creatures. They show creatures in this game that you didn't see in the film. This is also another case of it being uncut. This is the uncut version of the movie in video game format. There are certain sections of this game that are actually scary as fuck because one, even if you crank up the brightness, it's fucking dark. I would have to do this just to see. I would have to turn off the fucking lamp or close the computer and just focus solely on the game to know what the hell I'm doing. Because that's how insane this game can get. The dinosaurs. I've never been scared of dinosaurs in video games. Okay? Never. Not even with Dino Crisis. This game fucking scares me with the dinosaurs. The T-Rex scares the shit out of me. Because he could come out at any point. The fucking raptors. This is like if you took Dino Crisis and Turok and fused it with a fucking King Kong makeover. That's the best way I could describe it. And I like that it doesn't have the heads-up display. Because it adds to that suspense that, yo, I'm in fucking danger. I need to, be careful. And there's fucking giant insect. What did I just do? I just fucking dropped the game on the desk. The other TV just cut on and on real quick. The fucking I like the idea of feeling like I'm in constant danger. And it lets me know if I'm ready to go to the next section or not. Wait, what am I doing? Alright, I got another good one for you. Y'all can say what y'all want about this movie. I love the movie for what it is. The fuck was that noise? Why the fuck isn't there Dino Crisis? Why the fuck isn't there? I don't know. I don't care what y'all say about the movie. I enjoyed the movie, and hell, I enjoyed the game because if you're gonna knock off Devil May Cry, there's a lot of Devil May Cry clones, and at least you're ripping off a good template. Van Helsing. Van Helsing, the video game, is also the original script for the film. It is, again, like I said, this is a Devil May Cry knockoff. But that's not a bad thing. You're at least going into a game with a control style of a game you're familiar with, so you can get into the groove of it, but it has its own controls. Because remember, Van Helsing's a mortal man. Dante is half demon, so you don't do superpowers. Even though it's odd that fucking Van Helsing can still do the double jump like Dante, it's fucking weird. But, you go through, you do combos, you fight different enemies. It feels like a Universal Classics video game with all their stuff fused into, oh yeah, Kid Man can sell, of course. Of course, Christian. Damn right. This is still, it's a very fun game to go through. Yeah, certain things may not make sense. Certain things might be, of course, Hugh Jackman's in the game, which is great. He voiced it. You basically face off against Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and 22 other type of monsters based on the myth and the legends that are from the region that the game is set in. So that makes it feel, again, it carries the spirit of the film. And I think that's what should hold these video games. You carry the spirit, you transfer the spirit over. The game is just, you're going to go through it no matter what. You're going to feel the authenticity. It has the music. The gunplay is not that bad either. The gunplay, like I said, feels like Devil May Cry. The melee combat is not that bad. You can chain off combos and special abilities. It's just that if you go into it, you can go into it with a Devil May Cry mindset and you'll already be better off. You just have to adjust to how this game is telling you how to use the mechanics, which the game makes you use different mechanics all on its own. Now, I don't know how many of you are fans of this particular movie. This game needs to be remade. Like I said with Area 51 in my review, this game needs to be remade. The Thing. This is the official sequel to the movie. The original movie. This takes place, even endorsed by John Carpenter. He's basically saying this is one of the most intense action / horror games you got to play with this one, man. It'll blast you against a wall. The only issue with it is that it's single player. This game would benefit from a multiplayer component if it was remade. Just take this game, remake the graphics, update the controls a little bit, and add in cooperative play. Because I tell you, it might be rough around the edges, but this game feels like the fucking movie. I mean, you can't tell if one of your AI partners is the Thing or not. The suspense is fucking insane. It's like anybody could do what? And there's a system in the game where people actually get paranoid. Your teammates will get scared of you if you don't help them out. If you don't give them reason to trust you, they'll turn on you and kill you, and that's game over. It's insane. Like, really, it is. You need to control, basically, like it says on the back, you got to control the emotions of your squad mates. You need to use basically fire to destroy the little thing parts that run around. Let's see. Yeah, there's multiple pathways to also complete the goals. There's no singular way to play this game. You can do this game in however way you want. You just need to realize that there's a lot of mechanics at play. This game will actually test you. If it was more if it was a more memorable survival horror and had more of a following behind it, it would get remade. But I don't know what developer you would trust. I honestly would still trust the Friday the 13th or the Dead by Daylight creators to do this game. I think the Dead by Daylight creators, the people that do Dead by Daylight would be perfect for this game. They would perfectly remake this game. Now, everyone knows my rants on Michael Bay films because there's no substance to them. But how the fuck do you take Michael Bay films, how do you take shitty films and make them into not really good, but fun games? Transformers and Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, specifically Revenge of the Fallen, but these Transformers games, especially this one and this one, are not terrible. They're not awful. They actually make the shittiness of the film bearable. Why? Because you're not playing as the fucking humans, obviously. But you play as the Autobots and the Decepticons in this one. This has a very similar vibe to The Mummy Returns. 2 campaigns. You play as the Autobots. It plays out the same, very similar to the movie with, again, uncut stuff that you didn't see in the movie, you see in the game. But if you play as the Decepticons, you win and get the Allspark and destroy humanity as the plan that Megatron wanted to do. And of course, it was made by Activision, so you know it was going to have over-the-top action. What I don't understand is why in the artwork they're showing a picture of New York when the final battle took place in LA. I believe it was LA or San Francisco. I don't remember I know it was a California city that the final battle took place. The same thing with Revenge of the Fallen. Shitty story, shitty film. Fun game with mediocre story. I played those for a ton of fun. Made me not hate the films. Megan Fox should have been in Dark of the Moon. The Dark of the Moon game, I don't have it because they didn't make it. They didn't do a version for the PS2, but it has a lot of mechanics that would have gone. These games show a lot of the Bayformers films and their mechanics actually make it into the Fall of Cybertron and the War for Cybertron game, because they play very similar in certain games. Like this one is a open world game of all things. Like you have open world levels. This one, I'm trying to remember if it's open world. I have to go back and play it. I'm trying to remember if this has open world or you go through different stages, because it was also developed by Chrome Studios, the people that ported every version of the Force Unleashed, and they did a good job porting Force Unleashed, and they did a good job porting Transformers. Now, where are you at? The motherfucking trilogy on PS2. Revenge of the Fallen is the only bad because the villain sucks. They built them up. Wait, why am I looking at my phone when I'm looking over here? Oh, no, wait, because the comment pops up here before it pops up here. Yeah, he sits on his ass for most of the film. He doesn't do shit. The motherfucking trilogy. Yes. The motherfucking trilogy. First, I'm going to start off with The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. This game cheated. And I'm going to tell you why it fucking cheats. It's not just the Two Towers. It's the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers together into one game. But it mainly focuses on the plot line of Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas over Frodo and the Ring and that adventure. Which I can understand why, because they didn't want to spoil, because these games were released. Each of the, like, specifically, not the one on top, but these two were released a week before their movies. Wait, why is this not? Oh, yeah, it's in my PS2. I was playing it last night. These games release a week before the films come out. So you get, like, a preview of what the film was going to be, but then the movie still blew you the fuck away because they feel different. They felt unique. The only thing about this game, and everyone can fucking tell you, it's motherfucking Helm's Deep. Fucking Helm's Deep. The third age I've played with Dungeon Crawler kind of broken. Yeah, but it's still enjoyable because it reminds me of Final Fantasy X. If you know Final Fantasy X, then you can go through the third age, which is actually right here. So, the Two Towers, though, the first time I played this game really makes you believe at first you can kick everything in its ass. Then when you get to the deeping wall, or when the wall breaches, then the game says, guess what? We're going to fuck you. I was like, what? Huh? Defending the wall is not so hard. It's very simple. Have you played the Fellowship of the Ring game? Yep. Right here, but this is not based on the movies. This is based on the... I'm going to explain something in a minute when I get to them. So, you know what? Actually, fuck it. I'm going to give you guys a little history lesson on Lord of the Rings games and these two over here. Since I may as well just... I have 5, let's just say 5 Middle-earth games. You have the ones 3... based on the films. And you have 2 that are adaptations of the books. The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. The 2 companies that had the rights, a studio called Vivendi had the rights to publish games on the books, while EA had the rights to publish the films. So it was like a Lord of the Rings video games arms race, if you want to look at it like that. And it just showed that a lot of people were more keen on something that resembled the films over something that follows the books. Because I can't really say, I really don't have anything negative to say about these 2 games. Yes, they are not the trilogy. War in the North is the best, no contest. Conquest is one of my favorites, but okay. These are actually, if they were to continue games like this, these are a great alternative to the books. Instead of reading, let's say instead of reading The Hobbit, for example, you don't have to read The Hobbit, the book. This game faithfully recreates the original Hobbit book to a T and just utilizes gameplay levels based on the chapters you're in, because every level is a chapter from the book. And they do have a unique art style that would most likely translate from this. This reminds me of the Hobbit animated movie a little bit, like the way it looks, even though it doesn't look entirely like that. It's got the spirit of the book. And I kind of wish that they would do that. Like if you have stuff based on the films, I buy just to get that Hobbit game. You could either read the books, or if you're not a person that really likes to read but you want to get into the story of the book, play the game. The game's an alternative. Let me tell you, it's the same thing with the Fellowship of the Ring. This doesn't follow the movie either. This follows the book adaptation of the Fellowship of the Ring. Even using dialogue, basically using all the dialogue from the books and recreating the important moments from the book. So this game right here really just shows that there was an audience for it. And at least in this game, you play Aragorn, Frodo, and Gandalf, the only three. But this game basically knocked this game out the fucking water. Because the advantage that the EA games had was they had the rights to use everything from the films. Whether they were used concepts or unused concepts, they could utilize them in these games. And that's what made, like, the only two negatives about Two Towers: no co-op, ridiculous difficulty spike at the end. This game right here blows this one out the fucking water. Why? It's everything that this game set up on fucking roids. Quite literally, there's actually 16 levels in this game. I don't know why the back says 15. There's actually 16. You play as the entirety of the Fellowship except Boromir, because at the end of the game, you unlock everybody, but Boromir, which I don't know why they didn't just include Boromir as a bonus character. Still had him. So you go through 3 campaigns: the Hobbits, Aragorn's, and Gandalf's. And this game has co-op. The only time it does get a little difficult is in certain levels. But I will tell you what, if you're going to play this game and play it with a friend, if somebody has to play the lead character, like say in Aragorn's campaign, if you play as Aragorn, have one of your buddies play as fucking Legolas or Gandalf, because they're fucking overpowered. You have again, exactly. They are fucking overpowered. Gandalf and Legolas are so fucking broken, they can take a Mumakil down in one shot. Especially when you get to the Pelennor Fields level. Like, you can farm. Don't get me wrong, you have to farm a little bit, which can make the game last longer. And then when you beat the game, you get cheat codes, which makes it fun to go back and just annihilate every fucking thing in your path. The voice actors are in the game. The game's authentic. It has everything that the movie had and more. This was the extended cut before the extended cut. Anyway. Now, Lord of the Rings... Wait, I just fucked this up. Hold up. Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, which was EA's take on a Final Fantasy game. And this is their only JRPG. I was always playing these things. Yeah, that's the way to do it. The Lord of the Rings: The Third Age is EA's only JRPG, by my understanding. This game sits in the middle of you really loving it or despising it. Because this game also has the same problem as the Two Towers. Helm's Deep is a fucking bitch. It's a fucking bitch. You have to farm. religiously. This game took me 25 to 30 hours, 5 hours spent farming to be ready. But I'll tell you one thing. Cool will always trump canon. Because this game, just to make it work, fucks with the films a little bit. But it fucks with the films in a good way. Just to make this game happen, you have to be like, okay, this is an alternate universe. And this is an alternate universe of the movies where this story could happen. Because if you try to connect it to the fucking movies already, it fucks with your head a little bit. The Balrog, it took me for a... It didn't take me like, because I used Gandalf. Remember, the Balrog is weak to lightning. Gandalf blasts his lightning. You just need to have the chick in your team, the elf girl, use her healing powers and power of resurrection and just keep powering up Gandalf, and you could kill the Balrog instantly. It's the fucking wall at Helm's Deep that's a biatch, and dealing with the fucking Witch King a couple times is a biatch. The Balrog, not so much, if you're not prepared. But me, I still go back and I play this game. Like, I enjoy it. And it's weird because it's 2 players, and you're probably wondering, how in the fuck is this an RPG 2 players? This is what happens. You have your party. You can roam around the world. You and your partner will take control of half the party. So the second player will take care of, let's say, 3 or 4 members of the party. Oh yeah, I gotta see how many members are there. Let me see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 6 members to the party in this game. And player 1 will take control of 3 characters of his choice, and player 2 will take control of 3 characters of their choice. You go into the missions or the levels, you can swap off who takes their turn or who goes in with the team to handle it. The Balrog just kept... He does that. That's what I fucking hate that the Balrog does. He will go up and just keep slamming you down. Or he does the fire attack. But other than that, to me, I enjoyed it. I jumped from Final Fantasy X. I had both, which is, speaking of which, it's there, don't worry. Now, let's get to my superhero licensed games. I have a superhero game over there, but it's not based around the movies. So, it's a fighting game. Fucking, I don't need to, I can just talk about it separate. Okay. I currently don't have it because my nephew has it with him at his house. I have the entire Spider-Man trilogy. But right now, the only one in my possession is Spider-Man 3. A lot of people dislike this game. But it's not as bad as everyone said it was. It's the only of the Tobey Maguire games that lets you use the black suit to a capability that is very destructive. Like, actually, I gotta put this one back because this is not even a movie. That wasn't a movie license either. This is actually really fun. See, the thing about the Spider-Man games is they would utilize villains from the comics that the movies didn't use. Because in this one, you faced Morbius, Shriek, and the Lizard, which was added in that they weren't in the movie. You still face Sandman, New Goblin, Harry Osborn's Goblin, and Venom. This game, though, it's a little tougher than Spider-Man 2. It still has the open world. It still has you doing different missions, like random crimes are happening that you can go stop. But with the added power of the black suit. Oh, and every game had to do what was called at the time the God of War mechanic, the button time presses. It has a lot of that too. I didn't hate this game back when I first played it as a kid. I still had Spider-Man 1 and 2, but I liked playing this one. I liked going around doing the missions. I enjoyed using the black suit because even when you lose the black suit per the story, you go around and you find 100 meteorites, which is a collectible. You pick those up, you can unlock the black suit all over again and just go around and fuck shit up. The black suit makes the game way too easy because everything dies instantly the moment you hit them. And when you unlock the black suit for free play, you don't have the negative effect it has. Because if you use it in the story mode for a prolonged time, it will knock you unconscious, basically because you're exerting too much power from the suit. And yes, I know the cover is generic. It's just the movie poster that says 3. But I mean, what else would you... It wouldn't be no different if the top just said Spider-Man. It's still Spider-Man 3. You can tell because of the symbol. This is the variation of the symbol when the black suit takes over. Now, this one doesn't follow the movies, but it's still licensed for the... It's an official Spider-Man licensed merchandise based on the films. It has all the characters from the films and characters that are solely unique to the game that weren't in the movies. Spider-Man, friend or foe. This is a nice little co-op game. I wish it was remastered. It's so fun to play. You know, whether by yourself or with 2 people. The team-up moves. It's insane that Spider-Man has to team up with the very villains that gave him hell in the movie. It's a kid-friendly version of the Tobey Maguire verse. It's the same, like, it's the suit. He's wearing the Tobey Maguire suit. You see Willem Dafoe's Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, and the only difference this game did with Venom, this is the Venom from Spider-Man 3, except he's fucking... It's the Tom Hardy Venom if he had the Venom 3 aesthetic. That's the best way I could describe it. So it's actually the accurate portrayal of Venom. But you also play as Black Cat from Spider-Man 2, the game, Iron Fist, which Iron Fist wasn't in the Spider-Man games, Rhino, who wasn't in the movies, but he was in Spider-Man 2, the video game. And you just go through an adventure, basically like a little side story of bringing in different characters to just team up and do all types of moves. There's a versus mode that you can, have friendly fighting matches. There's a lot of collectibles, cool upgrades. This game, I just really wish would be remastered or ported, because I would stream this in a heartbeat and add online cooperative, and keep the same 2-player cooperative off online, because this game is so memorable and it's hard to find for a decent price. Like mine, it's brand new. I got it for $15. Or if you go online or like Amazon, they charge you an arm and a fucking leg for this game. Oh, wait a minute. This wasn't a movie license game either, but... See, I have superhero games that are just standard based on the comics. My movie license games are like official right here. X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men 3, the official game. Let me explain. X-Men Origins Wolverine is better than the movie. The games are better than the movie. Especially the PC, the 360, and the PS3 version, the Uncaged edition, where you see blood, guts, and gore. This one is a neutered version of that. But it's a fun action Wolverine beat 'em up. It still plays really good. The graphics may not be the best, but they get the job done. You could still know what's what and see what's what in the game. And all this game has is the story mode and a survivor mode at the end. But there's other cast of characters from the comics that make an appearance, which is really cool. And of course, the front cover is fucking badass. That's the thing I like about this game. Even though it's the PS2 version and it's neutered from the blood, it feels like the old Wolverine games. It feels like the Wolverine games of like X2 Wolverine. It feels something like that, where it's fun to play. You're just fun. It's going through you. You're fucking people up. Even though you don't see... Like, the way the blood works in this game, it's like old Mortal Kombat. Like, old school Mortal Kombat. Once you slice somebody, you see like a mist squirt of blood come out. And then it just evaporates. But you still see wannabe blood. That's basically what it is. But it's still... The combos are solid to pull off. It's easy to play no matter what difficulty it is. It's, you go through, you level up, you kill people as Wolverine. That's really all it is. It's just a Wolverine slaughter. It's a Wolverine beat 'em up. Now, X-Men 3, the official video game. This makes This makes the movie a little bit better. Why? Because it takes place between, I believe, between, during, and after. I'm still getting through the game right now. You play as Wolverine, Iceman, and Nightcrawler. Wolverine has the worst fucking campaign. Wolverine is a little too fucking slow. His controls don't make no sense. I don't like playing his sections, and that's fucking sad because I love Wolverine. But Iceman and Nightcrawler, their parts of the game are fucking hell. They're fun. Nightcrawler's teleportation is fun. The way you can control Iceman's, flying or, doing the sliding that he does in the air, that's fun. If the game would have just been a side story where you would have just followed probably Nightcrawler's perspective and maybe Iceman's perspective, it would have been fine. Wolverine's sections, though, are the only sections of the game I just do not like. But overall, though, it does make X3 a little bit better. That's all I can say about it. Now, you're probably wondering, well, it's not really based on the movie, but it's licensed from the movie, and it even acknowledges events from the movie, and it's voiced by Thomas fucking Jane, the Punisher. This was X-Men Origins Wolverine before X-Men Origins Wolverine. Holy shit, the fucking Punisher. You can execute people, torture fucking people. I mean, holy shit. And I never played this game until I finally got a hold of it later in life. I go back and I play this game. It earns that M rating for a reason. You do a lot of fucking shit in this game. To any NPC, even to the main NPCs that you have to do, so like interrogating, threatening, executing. You could do that to every fucking body in this game. And it's like you are basically the Punisher that you want to be. This game lets you handle things as if you were the Punisher. And it really shows. If no one's ever got a chance to play this, I say find a way to play it. It may not be the greatest game this right here may not be the greatest game in the world, but I like that I can go around and destroy fucking buildings, throw some pedestrians around, and break everything in my fucking path. And that's the Incredible Hulk. This is the Edward Norton Hulk right here. And at least Edward Norton voiced it, which is cool. The PS3 and 360 and the PC version are obviously better. This is another case like X-Men Origins Wolverine. But they were at least able to translate what those other versions did, at least as what they could in this one. You have an open world of Manhattan. You could break fucking everything. You could basically level the city if you want to. And you can level the enemies. It's just a Hulk beat 'em up. Kind of like Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. It's basically Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, but with the movie paint. That's really what it is. So, and it was made by Sega, which was weird. So, yeah, the Incredible Hulk. I got nothing to say about it. It's just a Hulk beat 'em up. Now, let me get to the superhero games that are comic book related, that are not based on films, but they're comic related. And as you can see, Ultimate Spider-Man. This is my favorite adaptation of the comic book. This is a fun game. Unlock a multitude of different suits, multitude of powers and abilities, play as Venom, where you can eat people. And the game is challenging. It's not that easy. It's a challenging game, but what I like about it is that it looks like the comic book. It has comic book graphics, shell-shaded aesthetic. And the cutscenes are ripped straight from the panel. Hell, the cutscenes are panels from the comic book, but the panels are moving. It's like you see characters moving in the panels, and you see the comic book story. I forgot how many volumes this game goes through. It just goes up to the fight with Spider-Man getting turned into like this is the Ultimate Universe. It's not the mainliners. This is the original Ultimate Universe, where Peter Parker gets turned into Carnage, and you fight him as Venom, and then Venom and Spider-Man finally have their brawl, and Venom gets his spider logo after absorbing some of Spider-Man's abilities. So, the open world is pretty big, just like original Spider-Man 2 and 3. And it's a fun game. Other comic book characters make a debut, like the Human Torch. It's basically the original story and character illustration by book writers Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. This is a great game. And Lord knows the amount of mods you can do to it on the PC. Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects. People can say what they want about this game. Me, my friends, my brother, my cousins, and now my nieces and nephews, we have a fucking blast fighting each other. It's like it's a beat 'em up. It's a third person beat 'em up, and it's a fighting game fused together. It's hard for no fucking reason at times, but seeing us throw down with all these different characters, like hell, me and my brother, I play Wolverine, he plays fucking Iron Man. We will be sitting there for hours beating the shit out of each other. Oh yeah, and then on the back, like they have these characters called the Imperfects, which are exclusive to this game. But then you have Elektra, the Thing, Magneto, Venom. There's different characters in this, Daredevils in this game. You have basically the heroes who have the darker backgrounds, or they've been through dark stuff. So it's basically like a dark Marvel game, which you can say what you want about it. I've heard people talk a lot of shit about this game, but its fun factor is what carries it, and its fun factor is undeniable. Hell, we still play it to this day. Me and everyone, we all play it. We just we pick our characters, choose a stage, set the life to maximum, beat the fuck out of each other. It's a fucking run. Now, I'm still trying to get a hold of the second one, but I have the first one. The second one is my favorite, but I cannot deny the first game. I cannot deny its accolades. X-Men Legends. The predecessors to the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, because this plays like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but this is strictly X-Men. See, the first one I played was X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse, and that's the one I like because obviously I like Apocalypse as a villain. But this one, for being a top-down RPG like Diablo, and obviously like these games basically draw inspiration from the Diablo games, it's memorable. It's a fun game. The story is fun. The characters act the way they're supposed to. You play as, at least in this one, about 15 to 16 X-Men characters, where in the other one you could play as more. This is about what you get the old, if anybody remembers, the multi-tap attachment. The multi-tap that would go into the front, and you would have 4 players be able to play. This is fun playing with 2 people, but it's more complete when you play with 4 people. It's one of those games. It's one of those games that you never forget, and that's for a reason. Now, let me pull out these two. One of EA's early first-person shooters, and a surprising hit, which I'm surprised they haven't remade, because it has the best deal. Okay, it was Nora. I don't have Champions of Nora, but I got something for you behind me in a minute. Black. There's nothing to it. It's just a fucking typical first-person shooter, but it's so fun to play. That's the thing you could say about EA. They make shit, but they at least make generic fun. This is a generic first-person shooter. But the idea is you're using a massive arsenal of weapons to just go through every level and blast enemies to smithereens. That's really it. You just blast enemies to smithereens. I mean, yeah, there's a campaign, but you're not going to care about the fucking campaign. You're just going to want to blow people's brains out. My first. Oh, I agree. Even better than Killzone 1. My first Final Fantasy game ever. Final Fantasy X. Need I say more? I know people say Final Fantasy VII is the best. Final Fantasy X, to me, blows Final Fantasy VII out of the fucking water. You love the characters. This is the most emotional Final Fantasy game you will ever play. I mean, I was I was like I was a preteen playing preteen, basically blow shit up, fight shit, kill shit, that type of games. I play this, it fucking broke my heart. I was like, is this what video games do to you? They break your fucking soul? Now let me pull this out. I gotta pull these out of the case. Okay. Evil Dead, A Fistful of Boomstick. You guys already know I've reviewed it. Evil Dead, Regeneration. I'm an Evil Dead fan. There's nothing more I can say about it other than play them. Oh yeah, and Evil Dead, Hail to the King. If you find a way to play them on the original hardware, do it or emulate them. They're for Evil Dead fans. Evil Dead fans, it's a fucking obligation. Wait, I just mixed up the damn games right here. Hold on. Now, here's this one. You could say what you want. Of course, the PC 360 version and the PS3 version are superior. But the ports of this game are in fact superior than their high definition basically fathers. Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Yes. Star Wars The Force Unleashed on PS2. Each version of Force Unleashed on every platform was different. They had their own exclusive modes. They had their own exclusive things. This one has what is called exclusive story content. This one, the narrative structure in this game is superior to Star Wars The Force Unleashed for 360, PC, and PS3. The narrative flows better in this game. There are locations that you would have to pay DLC for to go to, where in this game, it's all in one, and it's part of the story already. I always said for Force Unleashed, if you took the features of all the Force Unleashed games from all their ports and fused the features into one game, Force Unleashed would be even more memorable than it is today. It's remembered, yes, but it would be considered godlike if you had the versus mode from the Wii, the battle mode of the PSP, the historical missions. I say the PSP is the superior version of Force Unleashed because of all its different game modes and its endless replayability. See, the PSP version is ironically how that has the endless replayability factor. Because you play the Force Unleashed a couple times, you already know what to do, you already know what to go through. The one on the PSP, when you play historical missions or when you play versus mode, there's fucking Order 66 mode, for God's sakes. It's just like these developers wanted you, I get it, they want you to buy different versions, but if you wanted your game to be a fucking god, you should have did that. Now, as of what Beat said, Beat, look what I got. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. Basically, two top-down Diablo-style D&D games. Fun RPGs to play by yourself, even more fun to play with a friend. I was not big on playing like the D&D board games and anything like that. I didn't grow up doing that. But I do like D&D in video game format, and this is the way to get certain people into it. If they don't want to play the versions of cards or anything like that, they can play the video games, and you'll have a grand time. You will have a grand old fucking time. What's up, G? I see you right there. What's up, G? Let me put those back. I just reviewed this, so I don't have much to say, but it deserves a remake. Area 51. All your Alex Jones alien conspiracies rolled into one game. That's basically it. It's rolled into one game, and it's one of the very few first-person shooters that is really good on the PS2. Oh, you have? Well, I got one for you, G-Bane. If you want to play an old game on stream, if you're interested. I just had it too in my fucking hands. Where's it at? Actually, yeah. This one right here. If you can find a way to play this one, play this on stream. We don't get too many cowboy games anymore. Red Dead Redemption, the first one, brought cowboys into the mainstream. But I feel this game either needs a remake or a sequel, and that is Gun. Post images. Yeah, do it, Chris. Go ahead. Gun. This is if you took what was the actor's name? A Clint Eastwood movie, or who was the other cowboy actor? There was another great cowboy actor. I forgot. John Wayne. If you took a John Wayne or a Clint Eastwood movie, wrapped it into one, you get Gun. And Gun is very unique. You know, Gun is I gotta remember, I don't know if this is an open world game or not, or if it's open areas, but it's really fun to play. Like I don't get into cowboy games that much, but I like this game. And I had this first on the PSP, then I got it on the PS2. Gun equals Red Dead 0. Yeah, this is basically Red Dead 0. It's basically a predecessor to Red Dead Redemption. Now, I've been begging. I've been pleading. And if Capcom doesn't deliver, I'm going to fucking kill them. Resident Evil Outbreak. This is File 1. I plan to get File 2, don't worry. Resident Evil Outbreak. Either this gets ported with its online features turned on, or remake it. Please, Capcom. I'm begging you. This game, people are saying, oh, Resident Evil doesn't work as multiplayer. Well, fuck you, this one does. Okay, back when you had to take an internet cable and plug that into the back of the fucking PS2. Granted, this game didn't have a mic setting, which was weird for a game that requires cooperation. We used early versions of Uvu or anything that had the early variations of what we use today, as in FaceTime and all that. You know, me and my friends at a middle school go home, turn on our fucking big ass monitor computers with a shitty webcam. We all fucking link up on our PS2s and play this game. Please, Capcom, I'm begging you. Remake this game, please. You want to shit on the people that say your games, your multiplayer version of your games don't work? Shut them the fuck up with this. Okay? Shut them the fuck up with this. That's all I gotta fucking say. At least if you're not gonna invest so many resources, at least give them the graphics of the Resident Evil GameCube remake. Remake it with those graphics. Just make them more prettier. Keep the tank controls, or if not, give us a variation of Resident Evil Resistance controls. Dump us into a level, solve objectives, prevent ourselves from getting bit, because this game has so many fucking mechanics that would be the best Resident Evil multiplayer game. If I want to put this back before I get pissed off. How do you remake the very first Dragon Ball Z Budokai? This is a remake of Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Dragon Ball Z Infinite World. This is basically Budokai 4, but it's a remake of the first Budokai. And it fixes the problems that people didn't like about Budokai 2. Tell you that one, right? Infinite World, it's a good game to have. It's a fun Dragon Ball Z game. They really pushed, as one of the very last PS2 Dragon Ball Z games, this was the way to send it out. I still wish there was a Tenkaichi 4, but you know what? I will take what I can get with Infinite World. All I have to say is, developers of Dragon Ball Z, what is it with you making Cooler and Kid Buu ungodly hard? I never understood that, why those two particular characters were so fucking hard to begin with. In this game, of course, this game follows all of Dragon Ball Z, the Dragon Ball movies, the original Dragon Ball movies, and Dragon Ball GT. This is a good game. It has good replayability. You can go back and play it at any time, whether it be the campaign. The only thing it doesn't have is a world tournament mode. It only has a versus mode, practice mode, and a challenge mode, and the story mode. But still, Dragon Ball Z games are rarely bad, and this is one of the really good ones. The last game that I got right here in my hand. No, I'm not just kidding. I'm lying to you. We still got 3 more games to go. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The last game in the original Mortal Kombat timeline before it was rebooted with MK9. It slipped out of my hand, Chris. Give me a break. Armageddon. A lot of people didn't like this one, and I don't understand why. I like the creative fighter mode. I wish they would bring that back. I do like kart racing. It's a nice little Mario knockoff. The story mode, not that great. I do prefer the more open world version of Deception over this one. But this has every Mortal Kombat character to date at that time. Every single character's in this fucking game. And of course, the 3D Mortal Kombats, whether you like it or not, they were fun. You know, it was fun to be able to circle around your opponent and beat the fuck out of people. You know, where did they expect Mortal Kombat to go after this? This was at the time we did not know. And like I said, 60 plus characters, plus however many characters you play as. And you could create your own fatalities. You just have to remember how to do them. So Armageddon is still, like, if you're going to collect all the original Mortal Kombat PS2 games, this is one of the ones to get. I know the covers, the other covers of the games, the other games have better covers. This one is just a generic, red background with skulls and the dragon symbol logo, but it gets straight to the point. Now, the last trilogy I have on my hand, which I'm going through them. These are going to take me a little bit before I review them because I'm going to go through them. The original Prince of Persia trilogy. Sands of Time, Warrior Within, which is my personal favorite, and Two Thrones. What's there to say about Prince of Persia that hasn't already been said? These games are in my opinion, these are what put Ubisoft on the fucking map. And these games are the predecessor to Assassin's Creed. There's an interesting little story with Prince of Persia, The Two Thrones. It was meant to be called Prince of Persia Kindred Blades, or Prince of Persia something of the original title for this was called Prince of Persia The Assassin's Creed. But since they decided to just go somewhere different with Prince of Persia, Assassin's Creed spawned from Prince of Persia. And unlike most people, I get it. People liked the rated T fantasy version, but I fucking love the grit and the darkness of these two games. It's like it's a natural evolution. It's what God of War was doing. Like, I could tell these games were meant to emulate the style of God of War, going into a more mature direction. And I actually like that, being that Warrior Within was the first Prince of Persia game I ever played. I like these. Yeah, I wish they would redo like what they did on the PS3, where they put the collection together. I wish they would do that now. I understand that Ubisoft has paused on the development of Sands of Time's remake, but I would be like, okay, look, if you're not going to remake the game just yet, just give us these three games in another HD collection, but price it fucking fairly. Don't do what all these other game companies are doing. So for now, that's all the games that I currently do own for the PS2. Like I said, I'm planning to get more. There's a shop up the street from where I live. They sell the games at very fair prices. Hell, I'm willing to pay $20, $25 for a brand new copy and 10 to 15 for the pre-owned copy. Certain games I know people don't like that I would like, but I mean, the PS2 is what paved the way for us being the gamers we are today. A lot of us, our skills of gaming developed from the PS2, and that's something that cannot be denied. But for now, since Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, all of them, they don't care about preserving their old games. That's why we got the original hardware, or we have our PCs to preserve them the way we want them to be preserved. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little trip down memory lane for the PS2. I'm going to go try to get some rest because I still have to go to work tonight, but I wanted to do this beforehand, and I have a couple more reviews that I still have to do. I'm going to work on reviewing each one, and every time I pick up a new PS2 title and beat them, I will review them. So until next time, guys, this is Emperor John, Kyo3D Gaming. Be sure to like, subscribe, favorite. Look out for the next review. Probably going to live stream this weekend with Kyo, Kage, and a new guy that I met called Redgrave. We got some stuff to talk about when it comes to Silver versus Trunks, another death battle rant possibly. But we don't know. We all got certain stuff in store. So take care. I will see you all next time.